Content warning. This podcast contains bones, blood, smut, and swear words.
Before we get to the good shit this week, we wanted to remind you that we have a Patreon. That means that just for $1 or $2 an episode, you get extended games, brand new content, access to our notes and murder boards, and much more. So if you would like to contribute to Hannah's goal of collecting enough bone to make a 3-foot thick wall around our house, you can head to patreon.com/frontlinefifth or follow the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to that sweet, sweet bone zone action.
Act 1. Welcome, penitents. Hello and welcome to the Frontline Fifth, a Lock Tomb podcast where a couple of delightfully naive teacher's aides explore the Lock Tomb series for the first time, while a couple of dried out bone witches cackle over how little they really know. We are currently reading Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and this week we are telling all our secrets to hot sauce in chapters 15 and John 8:1. My name is Hannah, and though I wouldn't categorize myself as a traitor, there's no doubt that I am a fat cat and a zombie lover. I'm joined today by someone who is none of these things, but is so cool and good looking that when they spot her out a window, there's no doubt that Honesty in Born in the Morning asked Nona to mention their name to her. It's Marie! Okay,
Hi.
So this week, it was a real pleasure to spend some one-on-one time really talking to Hot Sauce. And I was wondering if you've ever had any experiences like that, where you mostly encounter someone in a group setting and then get an unexpected opportunity to actually talk to them deeply alone. And it's kind of just a wonderful moment. Have you had that, Marie?
Hannah, you and I are very much the same person in that we force this.
It's so true. This feels really real.
Yeah. like Hannah's always talking about, like, I just miss these moments when you'd get together and then you'd talk about, like, life and death and, like, the meaning of the universe.
This is why I miss college.
Yeah, I don't think that I've ever been in a group setting where somehow I haven't, like, accosted someone and then had, like, a really, really deep conversation with them. And then I never talked to them ever again.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is just really compelling. This is why I like this chapter so much. Also with us today are the brilliant and talented Brooke and John, who are really just babies themselves. So have either one of you ever had kind of one of these moments where you really get to connect to someone that you've never really talked to before?
I mean, the whole group setting thing is not my forte. Like, I don't know how to, like, distribute. Like, I am only good one-on-one. Like, I do not know how to do, like, the small talk that's like, oh my god, I did this to your husband, Hannah, at when we all got together last year.
Yeah.
I did this to your husband. It was like a group setting, and I did exactly what Marie's talking about, and I just, like, assaulted him with personal questions, just wanting to get to know him better because I've never really talked to him before, and I just, like, seized my opportunity of sitting next to him. I don't know how to do the group
so
thing.
Happy.
I don't know how to, like, entertain multiple people at once. I only know how to do one-on-one.
John, do you have this sort of thing?
No.
No, John only does group settings.
I'm the gift that keeps on giving to groups, as you guys know, so especially when I've been drinking. So I'm there to entertain everybody, all right? Not just one person. No, actually, in a serious note, not really.
For the same reasons he just said.
Especially since leaving California, I've not experienced this, and I have no desire to experience it again.
This is so
Since
funny.
meeting all of us, who are the people who force these situations on people like him and make them very uncomfortable.
This is true. He has enough of this shit once a week when we record. So when I wrote this question, so Marie is right, and I really do this, and I would argue that I'm like an interesting medley of a John and a Brooke. I feel like I do both of these things. And my favorite random conversations that are deep and lovely are with strangers. But every once in a while you have one with someone you like, but you just don't know personally, like, you know, intimately that well. And the reason I wrote this was that weirdly, I had an experience with Brooke like this when we were all together last year, where, like, Brooke and I feel like I've gotten to know you so much better and like you've really become a close friend on this podcast, but we never had one-on-one time until we were painting our faces in the same mirror and had this conversation where I was like, oh my God, Brooke is fucking fascinating. Like, I really want to spend more time talking about Brooke's problems and my problems and where they overlap. So it was just a joy.
Problems.
It's true. This is true. Including to all the people who listen to this podcast. So you're welcome, Frontline Fifth with fans.
Yikes, sorry.
All right. But I guess we can stop being so soppy for a bit. I'm going to ask us one more silly question just for funsies. So initially, the videos of necromancy that are coming out from like John et al. Are dismissed as excellent deepfakes. Have any of you been got by AI videos yet? Because I feel like they are everywhere.
Yeah.
Dude, no. What did you get? What did you get got by? Get got by.
Like that, I don't remember what one I was like, oh, that's really fucking weird. And like, it felt like there was something off about it, but I just really wasn't like aware. Like this was like right before Sora, which is like the one that Sora and like Banana, whatever, like the ones that are really making it so like it's impossible to tell.
Okay.
But I remember the one where I felt kind of smug about it, not because I actually got it, but because I was like, that doesn't actually make sense. And it was the bunnies jumping on the trampoline, which I feel like is like a pretty one. Like it looks like pretty convincingly real, except I was like, how the fuck would bunnies even get onto the trampoline?
You put
Do you know
them
what I mean?
there.
Like that was
skepticism.
That was my thing. I was like wild bunnies are not going to get 3-4 feet up onto a trampoline because there was no stairs, no nothing like that. I think it was even one where there was like a net around it. I was like, what is going on here? And then I like clicked into the comments or whatever, and everybody's like, I can't believe that like this is the first time I got by an AI. And I was like, well, I feel a little bit smug that I didn't quite get got. But the problem I have now is that I know that things are good enough that I don't remember what it was, but there was a video where I didn't believe it. And I like went to the comments and I was like, is this fake or not? And then I was like, I don't care that much to like do the footwork,
like
to
a deep dive research.
Well,
whether or not this is real, but it seems like one of those things that's like fantastical enough that it's not quite right, but also it's not about something important enough that I care to find out.
But the amount of work that you have to do, we can't be expected to do that on top of everything else that we do constantly. We can't, every single piece of media we come across, we can't then just say, okay, next 10 to 20 minutes, I'm going to go do my research on this. Like, that's outrageous. It's dumb. But what it is doing is it's completely bulldozing our ability to appreciate true wonder. Because now we just have to be skeptical of everything.
Yeah.
And my point, I guess, is I don't know if I've clearly gotten what did we get?
Whatever, we know.
Got.
Got. But I definitely have like spent a lot of things and I go, it doesn't seem right. And I'm correct, but like.
No, I feel you. One of the things, so like I'm not on the internet, so anything that I see is something that like someone else has forced me to watch. So my husband handed me, exactly, like a video that was this guy, there's like a seal being pursued by an orca and the guy in the boat like kind of intervenes and the seal jumps on board. And I was like, that is so beautiful, really like connections. And then I thought to myself and said out loud, it's so crazy because seals are just one of those animals that just never really looks real. They just always look like a stuffed animal. And he was like, no, it's AI. And I was like, okay.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. It was like implausible, but I was so ready to accept it into my life.
Well, I've definitely seen that video of a seal jumping out onto a boat to get away from an orca before AI existed. So
yeah,
this is so maybe there's like, all things in AI are based to some degree on like information that they've picked up and pulled in. But I just thought it was so interesting. This particular chapter has this idea of these things that are real being dismissed as deepfakes feels really like prescient to me. Like this book was written in 2022 when the deepfakes were not that good. In fact, it was published in 2022, so I don't even know when it was written, right?
Yeah, but it's been a fear for quite a while.
It's true.
It's been a fear, and there were those, like, this is probably about the time that there were, like, those Obama deepfakes that were pretty good, or, like, those deepfakes where you could have, like, if you had enough information about a public figure, because there was so much data, you could make them say pretty much anything, and there were pretty good deepfakes for that.
Yeah.
And those have been around for a while.
So I don't think I've got yet, but like at this point, it's some of the times it's so good that like I might have, right? And
right. Like, I don't know. If it was that good, I don't think I realized it.
We're recording this episode like the day after it really started exploding about Grok I don't know how much you guys have kept an eye on the internet, but Elon
Nope.
Musk's AI,
Well, it's an insane one, but what is it doing this time?
you can basically tell it to remove clothes from women or people,
Oh.
and it will
Oh my
create images
God.
of that. Like that's been what's blown up in the last like week here or
That's
so.
fucking disgusting. God,
Uh,
that's insidious.
Yeah,
I, like
so-
a fool, have been following our war with Venezuela.
Like a fool.
With that really fascinating discussion that was probably cut down pretty dramatically, so who knows what you heard, listeners. We all know that the best part of these chapters was the "we had beef" pun. But what else struck you while you were reading this week? Sorry. Thanks, Marie. He's like, no one's ever going to laugh at my jokes again. And I was like, I will.
I think it's funny.
I mean, I think it's very, very clear that even like early on when his powers are manifesting, he's like such a much stronger necromancer than almost like anyone that we run into in the books. And maybe that's because he like manifests as an adult versus like literal children. We like see mostly children growing in their necromancer powers.
Interesting.
But like he raises a 2-acre, 3-foot thick wall of perpetual bone around the entire
It's
facility.
fucking insane. We know how hard it was for Harrow to like even make perpetual bone happen as an OG necromancer pre-lictor state. Yeah, you're right, John.
So yeah, so he like just accidentally creates perpetual bone and makes like a giant wall around the, and like doesn't seem to like almost die.
limbs.
Although maybe it was easier for
that
him because
point.
he killed all the cows, right? So like maybe he was accidentally harvesting, the energy, the death energy there, but like still, he creates a giant 2-acre wide, like basically bubble of
That you
perpetual
could
bone,
see from
which is
Google
crazy.
Earth, apparently. That was a
Yeah.
very funny little relevant drop.
I did think that kind of nailed like what the life cycle of like this developing into a cult would probably end up looking like, because yeah, like I imagine if you just started streaming this on Twitch, like this would be exactly kind of the way that it would go.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would still think it were deep fakes.
I don't know. I liked isn't this the one where they talk about the flat earther
Yeah.
who still believes
Yes.
Nice
despite
guy.
the Mars? Nice guy. Had a
Got
beer with
beers
him. Yeah.
One of my big things this week, so I started with this conversation with Hot Sauce, and I really think there's something fucking beautiful about this conversation with Hot Sauce. And
Yeah.
part of it is that she's 14, man. And she's explaining really like horrific trauma that she's undergone. And she's explaining it in a very detached and adult way. And she's telling Nona she'll take care of her, right? I was just thinking about how quickly children have to grow up in these like horrific war zone situations.
I think that's something that I caught too, was just the way that Nona describes, like just even the way that Hassas moves is like the way that she has survived this
Mhm.
is by complete and total dissociation. She
That's right.
moves like somebody who isn't even inhabiting her body. And you're like, yep, that seems about right. That's about the only way that you're gonna, and then you kind of figure out like, well, okay, the reason that she's got all those burns has to do with
Yeah.
losing her family and this horrific thing. Like it explains quite a lot about Hassas. So
Oh, do you think that was the fertilizer explosion?
I think so.
Yikes.
Makes sense.
I walked away from this going, what the fuck is Nona's secret?
That's a great one. We'll stop there. Let's move right on to Kiwi Corner. I see some Kiwi Corner notes here, and I'm assuming Marie put them there.
Yes. Okay. So John references the wop wops, and that is New Zealand slang that essentially means the same thing as as like us saying like out in the boonies.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Bumblefuck.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
I call it bumblefuck.
Be careful on the East Coast, all right?
Yeah.
Why?
Be careful. Well, it's a slur.
Oh, really? God, that's so disappointing. I had no idea.
Huh?
Well,
Yep.
actually, I learned that boonies, which is short for boondocks, is actually a relic of U.S. imperialism because it has to do with, it's borrowed from Tagalog in the Philippines because boondock means like the mountains.
Oh, God, that's fascinating as well.
Weird, right? Okay, anyway, we're
Yeah,
learning all sorts
Etymology
of
is
things.
cool.
I don't know what the complete etymology is of the wop wops, and what I could read, it also seems like it's not nice. Potentially. Anyway.
Oh, well, I mean,
just means up
clearly
in
you
the
just told us
mountains.
that the boonies was basically like our imperialist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Anyway.
think you can win, to be honest.
No.
Okay.
Really can't. Anyway, He also references parachute, that something about the nun was writing to the Vatican to say that this was a miracle because he'd been baptized.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, yeah, but really, I'd only ever gone to parachute for the underage drinking. And parachute was a like Christian rock music festival that happened in New Zealand.
This is amazing.
Nice.
I love this.
Nice.
It also, so Marie linked in the Wikipedia here, and it looks like it ran from 1992 to 2014, which also tells you exactly John's age, basically.
Yeah. So anyway, there's your Kiwi quarter for the day.
And with that, please take a moment to round up all the cattle in your vicinity as we present Nona the Ninth, Episode 9, A Shanty Town and an International Conspiracy. Act 2. It's never good with necromancers.
This section of Frontline 5th is safe for anyone who hasn't read past John 8:1 in Nona the Ninth.
Let's recap. Chapter 15, 7th House Skull, A Car with a Grill, Hot Sauce's Brothers, Nona's Secret.
So Nona, who's just been dropped off at school by Crown, makes her way upstairs to the schoolroom and finally gets some good news. So first off, everyone did see Crown out the window because she was really disappointed that Crown could not come upstairs. And this obviously raises Nona's social cachet quite a bit. And secondly, Hot Sauce is glad she's not dead, which is a pretty magical feeling in and of itself. So Hot Sauce has some more information about her investigation. It turns out that when the school watcher realized that the angel wasn't in this morning, he took off, and he returned when the angel did. Even weirder, the angel pulled up to the school in a car with a grill. And Nona's like, and that means what? And Hot Sauce has to explain that, you have a grill on the front of your car if you're trying to drive your truck through rocks or people. So clearly,
This is very like Mad Max looking in my head, by the way.
Yeah.
Me too. The angel is under some sort of serious protection or is being watched in some important material way. So unfortunately, with Nona's morning mostly taken away from her by grand matters of state, aka blood of Eden chit-chat, the first part of the school day is basically over. Before she knows it, it's already lunchtime. And Camilla, for the first time ever, doesn't come to pick her up.
Should we be worried about this?
I mean, yes, unequivocally. For the first time ever, Cam doesn't show up when she's supposed to. I would be freaking the fuck out.
To me, this is one of those moments where Nona just says something and is like, oh, well. And then the rest of us should be going, let's read into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is exactly right.
If you had
even the
normal
teacher is a little
yeah.
okay,
If you had a normal narrator, they would just
here.
be stressing about this.
100%, they'd be freaking out. But Nona is basically, her response is to be like, can I hang out here until Cam comes? And the teacher's like, yeah, no problem.
Hey, Hot Sauce, want to hang out?
That was exactly. So it's actually kind of a weird afternoon. It's lunch and then nap time, and virtually everyone has gone home. Everybody's been picked up by their parents ahead of time, except for Honesty, who's gone off to sell drugs.
which Nona doesn't approve of because it's too hot for drugs.
Which is correct. I feel like that's fucking beautiful and accurate. Basically, the only people there are the teachers and Kevin and Hot Sauce and Nona. And part of the reason that everybody has been picked up is that there's a broadcast scheduled for this afternoon. It's actually Hot Sauce that relays that information. The nice lady teacher didn't know. The angel had already heard something about it, but insists that they go talk in private and not in front of the kids.
Little pictures. Which is, I love that. My dad's phrase that I love, that I use, is the eyes have ears.
Interesting. I like that one actually a lot. Basically, teachers are out of the room. Kevin's eaten 12 sandwiches and passed out in a pile of sandwich wrappers and mats. And
Only
Nona
the
and Hot
insides.
Sauce.
Love that for him.
I really love that for him too. If you have a choice, you have the option, you should not eat crust. I feel very strongly about this.
I like crust.
When I'm feeling sad, So does my husband. But when I'm feeling sad, I will go to the store and buy like a loaf of French or Italian bread and literally just scoop out the insides in handfuls and eat it. That's right. That's who I am.
Wow.
Me and Kevin, bro.
Reverse bread bowl.
Reverse bread. That's exactly right. I create my own bread bowls.
I
Someone
want
else
the
can use
insides
them.
you scooped out. Yes. Wow, what a beautiful marriage.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
He's the bread bowl to your bread popcorn.
Actually, the irony is that he doesn't care about bread bowls at all, whereas I fucking love a bread bowl because I love when food is a different food's plate or fork. I don't know what my pathology about this is, but it's like my favorite
for the same
thing.
reason.
Yes. Love a lettuce wrap. Love a like sandwich, hand pie, taco to dumpling. I like when food wraps other food. Okay. So, with that, Nona and Hot Sauce kind of like lie down in the shadiest part of the room and lie there talking to one another. Hot Sauce already knew about the broadcast. She found out about it at the park last night. She knows that it's going to be about necromancers, and it's never good with necromancers. Nona asks her a little bit about like what the park was like, and Hot Sauce explains that the necromancers in the cages died, but they died too quickly. Because there's always some idiot in the crowd who thinks that you have to shoot them in the brain in order to kill them. And she's explaining that's not true. You don't have to like do anything special. They can die. They die like anyone else. So don't believe that they can't.
No comments on this?
I mean, I think we're assuming that one of our friendly family members shot them in the head while they snuck out. We're assuming this is Pyrrha,
100%.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Sniper rifle on the roof, taking out the this is absolutely Pyrrha. And I think there's a really interesting kind of discrepancy in terms of who you can empathize with, right? Like Pyrrha wants to be able to save these people from a horrible, horrible death by giving them a fast death. And Hot Sauce at no point assumes that this is a mercy. Hot Sauce assumes this is a misunderstanding based on like propaganda and fear because people are so fucking
terrified,
insane about necromancers and so scared, which is also really interesting. So like Nona and Hot Sauce are talking right past each other here. So Nona finds herself trying to ask in like this awkward way if Hot Sauce or any of the others are with Blood of Eden.
I don't like you calling this awkward because she's just being direct.
She is being direct, but there's also this like, are you on the with the and then Hot Sauce like shushes her like.
This is how Brooke would ask the question, actually. Brooke is Nona.
So funny.
Brooke is like, I don't understand why you ever need to be subtle about something. You just ask.
But Hot Sauce like shuts her up right away. Like literally puts her hand over Nona's mouth, her finger over her mouth, and nods and basically implicates that Hot Sauce Honesty and one of Born in the Morning's fathers are active revolutionaries, but they are not with BOE. BOE are traitors, fat cats, and zombie lovers, which Nona's like a little offended by.
Sort of, but only on behalf of Crown.
Yes.
Kind of interesting. We were talking about this, I think this was last week, that about like who the convoy is and is it related to BOE. Like it seems like there's other forces going on here. So this is like the idea that like BOE, like which we have thought have been like, you know, the armed forces, the revolutionaries. No, they're apparently zombie lovers. Like they're considered zombie lovers by the more
they're considered
radical,
soft. They're considered to be, yeah, exactly. It's so funny because we absolutely have been assuming that they are like the revolutionary force.
Yeah. And especially with Commander Wake. Sorry, like Commander Wake could not be. Well, I think she could be described as a zombie lover.
She is a zombie lover. She's absolutely a zombie lover.
Only in the physical sense.
Only in the literal sense. Anyway, so yeah, this is fun. This is a new factor.
It's just like, something self-perpetuating extremism and like, just...
So, Nona has to explain that her family isn't like with BOE per se, but that they talk to them sometimes.
Yeah, because they're the ones that sell you guns.
Yeah, that's like Hot Sauce's take too, Anyway, Hot Sauce ends up telling Nona about her history, about her older brothers that she used to have. And it's this interesting thing, so Nona basically asks if she ever had siblings. Hot Sauce said yes, brothers. And Nona asks if they were nice. Hot Sauce says yes, and Nona understands right away and asks directly, how did they die? There's no assumption that they were lost or that they went away or that they went to, how did they die? That's the automatic assumption. They died at the hands of a sword-wielding minion. And they kind of freaked out when they saw the sword. Hot Sauce actually practices with a sword now so that she won't get freaked out by the presence of somebody coming in with a sword.
That's kind of funny, right? What would you do as in like modern day society if somebody came at you with a sword?
Screaming at you with a sword? Yeah, I'd probably freak out. Yeah.
I'm not sure how that's any different than a gun, but
if you've trained with a gun, you know how a gun works and you know how somebody else is going to move and their body and like how they're aiming and stuff like that. So like, I think there's the deal of like, if it's your first time in a combat situation, you're probably going to freeze unless you've been trained extensively
for that situation. Yeah.
And then if you're put into a combat situation that you have not trained for at all, you will still freeze again.
There's also something else here that's like really insidious and actually kind of showed up in that BOE manual that we read at the end of the last book. The family literally could not get close to the bodies afterwards in case they were scarecrows, in case they were bodies that were like explicitly meant to lure people in and then explode with necromantic power. The knowledge is that the second that these people are dead, they're no longer your people. They can be used against you in any sort of way.
Horrifying.
But Hot Sauce's family's base put up the white flag, let in the zombies, and then her cousin drove a truck packed with fertilizer into their troop. Got them all. Got him too. Nona wishes nobody had been got. Without thinking about it, without even really wanting to, Nona just like goes ahead and blurts out her secret to Hot Sauce. And Hot Sauce kind of tries to help, but Nona just makes her swear not to tell. After all, Hot Sauce is literally the only one who knows. Hot Sauce swears and says, "I'm here, Nona. I'll look after you." Nona says, "I love you, Hot Sauce," and drifts off to sleep.
So this is kind of like what KM and Pyrrha were warning her against, was these interactions with Hot Sauce, right?
Yep.
That's
they
fine.
don't feel comfortable. Well, and they'd even warned her, which I thought was interesting, is like, don't even touch other people.
Which she did.
I'm sure this won't come back to bite Nona in the ass, telling the big secret to an even more extreme than BOE person.
Yeah, but what do you think about Hot Sauce in this interaction? I mean, she's talking extremism, but she's there again. So like one of the things here that she says explicitly, she's like, "I'm here, Nona. I'll look after you." Says
I wish
the
you were my
14-year-old
sister.
to the 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I wish, exactly. Like I think she takes family really seriously. I think she treats the gang like family. I'm not trying to say she is Vin Diesel, but with better acting. But she might be.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not familiar enough with the Fast and Furious to understand your reference.
All about family.
I feel like I've heard that line.
I just think there's like really something lovely about, well, lovely and tragic. I don't know. She's still making connections. She is totally dissociated, but not in a way where she's rejecting humanity. In a way instead where she's collecting it and she's going to preserve it and protect it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you either give up and you like completely and totally shut people out, or you try to do the impossible and this time you'll save them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's obviously a volatile figure in a lot of ways, and so I'm not entirely sure how this will all pan out, because Nona is, you know, what she is, whatever that exactly is. And
Whatever that is, Nona is what she is.
But I don't think Hot Sauce knows what she's getting into.
Meanwhile, in a dream, Act 3. You can't erect a 2-acre cow and sheep shield without it making the news.
John 8:1. Falling ash. Necromancy starts trending. A fortress of bovine bone.
They walk through the falling ash, transferring all their belongings into a crumble-down concrete building, and he continues to tell her the story of what happened next. What happened was that they had tried to tell their story on the internet, tried to go viral, show the world what he could do. But as we talked about at the beginning, most people just like immediately dismiss this as high quality deep fakes because necromancy isn't real and they're not idiots. The problem is that necromancy is real. And so the group has to kind of like figure out how to counter this and really get their message out. The goal here is to make sure that the world knows this is happening, partially so they can tell the story of the cryo project getting shut down and how, you know, all the money's being funneled into places it shouldn't be, blah, 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 blah. So what they do is they invite in people to see it for themselves. They invite in a couple conspiracy theorists and a couple skeptics, and they film the whole thing, film live and probably Twitch stream their tests and their reactions. And actually, that's enough for them to really take off because the reactions of these people are intense. Like some of them really freak out. It's like clear that this is happening. And suddenly more and more people are flooding in to see the miracle. So people start flying into the country. They start camping outside the gates of the facility. And many of them actually, beyond wanting to see how like crazy this insane magic is, they literally want miracles. They're there to ask him to cure their diseases. And he can. So he starts to spend all day playing Jesus, his words, healing the sick, and he nearly burns himself out. It's actually M's nun friend that helps him like readjust and manage. And I love I think it's fascinating the way she explains this. She's like, this is Christ's problem. Christ never said no, never asked anyone to pay, and got way too much attention and brought the heat down on everybody.
That's an interesting summary of the Bible. Yeah.
This is the part where I start wondering, and I think maybe it's like I am not around that many religious extremists, but I'm like, this nun presumes Catholic. This seems like a really weird
take. This is a weird take.
This is a very weird take from a Catholic.
Tell me why.
I completely agree.
You wouldn't say Jesus should have done less. That wasn't the problem. Like you would never say you should do less, you should preserve yourself.
It's a woke nun.
Yeah.
Well, so there's like a lot of different like possibilities here, right? All of this story is being told by John, which means that it can be told incorrectly and it can be told using his assumptions or memory of what she said or what he heard, even regardless of what she said. At the same time, I think M's nun friend, it continues to be a really fascinating character.
So fascinating.
And a weird fucked up kind of character.
Well, so far, every person with like a letter to their name or associated, we can pretty much presume got brought back as either a necro or a cavalier.
But the nun doesn't have one.
Yeah, the nun doesn't have one yet.
Yeah.
But also, like,
to be fair, he mostly refers to the cop as the cop.
Nah, P.
So there's another instance of that.
But it's been cop has been given a letter at all, where the nun has not.
I more was like the nun brought the heat down on everyone, and maybe the nun is worried about like all the friends and everything else because they're not like they're like. I think the nun probably took this to the logical conclusion, which I want to give Brooke and I points for basically saying that this is kind of how it would go. God in like season 1 or season 2 when we were talking about God's origin story and like how that would eventually shake out, which was like, yeah, of course it's going to become a cult. The guy is literally like a religious figure. So like, yeah, of course, like, I mean, dude, if I'm the president of New Zealand, I'm certainly sending the SWAT team after the dude who's building like a Jesus cult in the boondocks.
Yeah, you would be worried. You should be worried. There's all these people camping outside and like he's promising miracles that clearly can't exist. Like, in this case, they do happen to exist, but it is something that you should be worried about as a government official.
Yeah, what is the line? You have it written in here. He's curing cancer. That's great. But he's bookended by 2 zombies and they're dressed in outfits. That's bad.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Also, wearing outfits, like, what did he do to them?
Well, he clearly dressed them up. And it would be interesting to know what they are dressed in. Because in my head, they're following him around in culty, like all in white, all in.
Oh, to me, they were full jester outfits. Yeah.
All right. Well, as we said, so basically spiraling out of control. They're getting a lot of attention, but like people are concerned. And so eventually someone decides, as John would have if he was the president of New Zealand, that they have to be shut down for good. I'm talking about John, our co-host, not John, God of the universe. So P, as we said, does get a letter, but she's mostly the cop. P defects from the police, calls ahead to tell everyone they're coming to raid the facility. They're coming right now. And so the people in the facility have an extremely limited amount of time to protect themselves. And what they do is to wall themselves off, to actually totally insulate the facility. And what John needs is the raw material to do that. But luckily, they're on farmland, surrounded by beef cattle and sheep slated to be mutton. It's not a clean process. They literally slaughter several hundred animals so he can unsleeve them,
Gross.
His words. And he uses it to build a 3-foot thick wall of perpetual bone in a dome completely encompassing the cryo facility.
Yeah, he doesn't listen to the engineer, so he doesn't listen to G, so he fucks up, he breaks a water main, and then he does remember to finally poke holes before they suffocate.
Right. He forgets that air holes are going to be necessary. That is funny. But this definitely gets everyone's attention. After all, he had turned several hundred animals inside out and made them into a big art installation. You could see it from Google Earth. Kind of pretty from far off. Sort of pink.
Yuck.
Well, C's throwing up in the kitchen, so I guess we better move on quick, because luckily it's time for a game.
Oh, wait. Can I say one of my favorite lines?
Please do.
You got 2 scientists and an engineer and a nun and a lawyer and a banker and a cop and an artist. That's not a defense force. That's a cop and 6 different kinds of nerd.
Interstitial. Talk about late stage capitalism, right?
We should absolutely put a flag ahead being like, if you are vegan.
Just skip this whole section. So this week I really did fall in love with this look at how society reacts to A, videos, B, news, and C, cults. The only horror I really felt was missing was that viciously capitalistic angle. So this week we're playing a game called Show Me the Money. We're going to brainstorm the best ways to make money in 2026 with necromancy. That's it. It's just a business pitch based on bones. Ready? Go!
I have lots of thoughts as our resident.
God, of course you do.
As our resident corporate shill, I have so many ideas.
John.
Well, so the first one is like less evil and probably actually helpful, which is perpetual bone marrow for restaurants. So like you could,
Dude, you and I are on the same boat here. I immediately went culinary. I was like, I want that instant bone broth.
The first thing you thought of, honestly, John, was imagine the bone broth you could make with necromancy.
Yeah.
You guys, this is insane.
We were primed for this, by the way, in book 2, so
And
not
then
too much of a stretch.
on the other end of things, it's raising a several thousand skeleton army and just becoming a private military force for hire.
There's no doubt that Mercs is a good place for, selling this. And you could also sell them as weapons. You could sell grenades that explode that are just literally shards of bone that explode and then each bone pops into a skeleton, things like that.
The military industrial construct, it's definitely got a lot of opportunities here.
Shadow government.
Here's the thing.
New BlackRock.
The whole part of like if you've ever had to slaughter your own meat or you ever raised your own meat, like the weight of the animal, you only get maybe like I think really good return is like 50% because so much of that is bone and skin and like hair and like whatever. So like you do have just like a lot of bone out of just meat production. So I don't see why we're not making perpetual bone like bridges and roads.
That's fine.
And buildings.
The other, my other culinary application, as the hypocritical capitalist I am, was like recyclable containers instead of plastic.
Yeah, little skin
like
boxes.
Okay, I wasn't thinking
And you
skin.
could
I was
warm
thinking
them,
bone.
Resealable Ziploc bags.
No,
Is bone too porous?
sealable skin. No. You could make skin, like the whole point of skin is to be a little bit of a water barrier, and it would probably like warm up really well.
This is incredible. This makes me very happy.
Again, and also like we're selling like the best quality steak to every single like restaurant on earth. Like we're making A10 Wagyu.
Well, wait, can we manipulate them? I guess we can manipulate them when they're alive, so you get the marbling, huh?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yes.
I hope nobody here is
so here's
vegan.
the other thing. I'm sure we have a lot of vegan listeners, and I'm sorry. We should move right along.
Maybe we should
I
put
do
a
think
little
that it is
flag on this.
This is
We should
I'm so sorry,
absolutely
my
put a
vegans.
flag ahead, being like, if you are vegan,
just skip this whole section.
skip
Come
this
back in.
section.
On the
in a
other
minute.
hand, this is the point of a lot of veganism is you flip it onto humans and it's a lot grosser.
oh my god, if you want to be horrified, read Tender as the Flesh. That'll put you off meat for a while.
But okay, part of this does go to like an important point here, which is that we actually can't create something from nothing, right? The reason he has to slaughter all of these cows is because he can't make perpetual bone out of nothing.
Yeah.
So I think we would also have to have normal facilities for like and cattle.
Rearing.
And then I think also this would be a good incentive for us to make our militias very, very effective at killing, because you can use all that material. Everybody you kill is basically just new juice and new bone and flesh. You're welcome.
Okay, yeah.
Like
Moving
this.
right along.
On a slightly more positive note, you could replace like all like the horrific people laboring in terrible places with like skeleton
With
constructs.
skeletons.
Like,
So, yes,
Yeah,
and
but then
that's
you'd
amazing.
fuck the economy.
Well, and I was going to say this definitely would put millions of people out of jobs.
It would also
Like,
wreck the earth because
any
suddenly
unskilled labor.
lithium mining has zero humanitarian things, so we can just mine the
Also,
earth.
That's a great point.
I mean, it's like the way that we were horrified by Dreerber early on, where like the soap is apparently made of like human fat, and like the journals are covered in skin, and their skeletons after they've been in their niches and
with
like,
enough universal
decayed.
basic income, they'll get over it.
Right, have been turned over.
If everyone's comfortable, they'll get over it.
But
I'm
no,
with you,
here's
BI,
the
too.
thing. It like not only do you fuck over the economy if you have skeleton servitors doing jobs you
the
don't
unskilled
want,
labor.
but you actually incentivize murdering people to just get their skeleton, because the skeleton is a much better deal because it probably lasts longer
Doesn't
and
complain.
cheaper than
No,
and doesn't
no
complain
health
when the
insurance,
person
no
does.
Doesn't require
401k,
benefits.
no pensions. Oh, don't worry. It's gonna be the BlackRock skeletal mining force is coming. Yeah.
Well, that was cheerful.
Well, okay. We should end on the fact that basically this could sub in for all medicine. That you really could, actually, at the hard minimum, you could regrow new heart valves and new joints for people.
Yeah,
right?
but we need more skeletons.
I mean, basically, by the way, all of this is just substituting necromancy for any form of technology that we've ever developed, which is, oh, look at all these military applications. Also, if you do this really cool thing, you could save lives medically. But
the
thing
only
that
thing
makes
it
money,
does not sub in for is telecom. Because the only way you could do that is having the net, I'm imagining a chain of skeletons playing telephone down the line as they whisper your note to the next person. And so
I was just assuming
4 years
we're
later,
putting
you get your
USBs
letter.
We're putting USBs in a football, and we have a skeleton every 100 yards, and they just chuck the football the entire length of the road, and that's your postal service.
The dumbest possible way to get
That was
information
really
from
dumb.
one place to another.
really creative.
Now that I feel we have satiated the gods of excess and greed, it's time for rampant speculation. Act 4. Half-truths or quickly shut up truths spoken softly. Brooke and John aren't just great at befriending dogs. They're also brilliant conspiracy theorists, though neither of them are flat earthers. So, Brooke and John, what the fuck is happening?
They were...
Wait. Oh, damn it.
don't
I missed my... Can you, Marie, edit this so it's snappier?
Sure.
I'm a rascal flat earther. I believe that life is a highway. Or Earth is a highway. God damn it.
I don't understand the joke.
Life is a highway.
Rascal Flats, that's brilliant.
You're not going to enjoy the way that I'm going to edit that, John.
It's fine.
All right, what's going on? Okay, so in order of the chapters, we talked about Cam not showing up to get Nona, which is mildly concerning since we last saw her in the back of a trunk of a car. No, not in the trunk, but on the back seat on the ground of a car, blindfolded or whatever, with BOE. And not Crown. Crown's no longer in the car. Whatever. So I don't know what the hell's going on. Either she didn't reach home, or something has gone wrong. What?
Yes,
I don't know.
Huge cause for concern.
There's the broadcast that's going on kind of simultaneously at this point, which, might be related to the conversations that they were having with BOE that morning. This whole, there's somebody in orbit who is a necromancer, and what is the big blue thing in the sky? I don't know. Informational? What do they use broadcasts for?
I mean, it sounds just like a newscast.
Propaganda and information distribution,
That's
probably.
kind of the question. But and who is airing the broadcast?
And from whom?
Cohort?
Cohort. Yeah, I mean, cohort BOE or normal people.
It sounds like there was a local government, but it's been mostly disbanded.
Right. So anyway, a lot of unknowns around that. got no idea really what to expect about what I'm concerned about Cam because we last saw her in a pretty vulnerable position. The secret that Nona tells Hot Sauce, there's like weird clues that are not all that helpful, but kind of direct us in weird directions, because after telling Hot Sauce her secret, Hot Sauce tells Nona that the angel works at a clinic, and if that doesn't work, there's an organ market. Sometimes they're cheap. So what the fuck?
My first thought reading that was that like this is like maybe it's like it sounds like Electo's kind of first thing is eating human, right? Like they eat thighs and they eat like with
What?
John back when like
yeah, she was
Nona
eating chicken
is
thighs.
if Nona is Electo, she was eating human.
Did it say
right?
it did just say thighs, right? It didn't say chicken thighs.
I'm assuming it was
I think
I'm assuming
we
it
had
was
the
humans.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Where are they getting chickens? I am just editing this part, and it's the funniest thing because he says thighs, and he's like, "This is human, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, thighs, chicken thighs."
Yeah.
But you're right.
So-
I've already
It's
got
not
this once
explicitly
before.
human. It could be anyone's
Okay.
They're
thighs.
sleeping on baby skin blankets, right? Like they literally say that.
If I
Or
come
not
home
baby
and
skin,
I'm
like
calling
skin,
my husband on
baby
the phone,
soft.
"Hey, what's for dinner?" He goes, "I'm cooking up some thighs." I'm assuming chicken thighs. In the world that in
love that
nuclear
for
winter,
you.
in nuclear winter,
There
I
are
could
no
s-
chickens.
yes, I think I've gone through this thought process once and forgot about it. So okay, we're back to it. Thank you, John. I'm recentered on
So
eating
it's-
humans.
Is the secret that she secretly actually wants to eat like human? Like I don't know. Like
I don't think
why,
so.
Why
She's
does
eating like fucking pencils and
But like why? Then why does she need an
sand.
organ market or like to go see a medical person? Is it like there's an organ market? Sometimes they're cheap. Is she looking for like more bones? Like is she
I
looking
had
for
his
like body
kidney
parts?
with a nice Chianti.
Yeah. Is it just maybe just more bones to play with? Like that they're trying to but like then I don't. If it was like bones, then that's like necromantic, and I feel like Hot Sauce wouldn't
Yeah,
react
I
nearly as well. So I don't
agree.
know.
Yeah, it seemed to be something that could be not immediately interpretable as a necromancy thing,
Yeah.
but clearly there's something else going. I don't get it. I really don't get it. That's fun.
Yep.
There's all this focus on the angel, speaking of her working in a clinic. I don't know, there's been enough comments about this that I feel like she's someone important in this plot and not
Yeah.
just the Hour of Science teacher. Wait,
Yeah,
right? She's the science teacher, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think probably like someone high up in either like the revolutionary government or the like resistance government, something like that.
Yeah, the fact
Because
that she has Hot Sauce's respect might mean that
Yeah.
she's not part of BOE, but whether or not Hot Sauce would actually know that, I don't know if that's true. But I agree, yeah, like she's got some medical training, she's not sleeping much, she's only working part-time at that clinic, so that I don't know if that means that she's, spending her nights at the clinic versus like what you're suggesting, like somehow involved in this revolutionary management that's not BOE. So I don't fucking know.
Yep.
She seems nice. I can't imagine her
Yeah.
just being like immediate like
And she has a six-legged dog.
anti-zombie. She has a six-legged dog. Like what the fuck? Dude, what if she's related to these wide-eyed things that like, happened and then we just kind of forgot about? I mean, we haven't forgotten about it, but Nona has.
No idea.
Because to me, the convoy feels like probably like it seems more extreme than BOE. So BOE at least is like negotiating with cohort or is like in contact with cohort. So I'm guessing that means the revolutionary is like no talk, shoot first, questions later.
Yep.
Which is supposedly BOE's policy as well, but clearly
We
that's
don't negotiate
not
with
entirely true.
necromancers. Yeah.
Right. But anyway, I don't know. My suspicion is she's somehow related to these wide-eyed things, but they feel really nefarious and
Yeah.
the angel doesn't. So go figure. Okay. Do you notice this weird little aside where Born in the Morning's name had this like Ortis Gideon style exchange?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just more of like, and didn't we have one of these exchanges earlier with Cam, where
Mhm.
where
They
Nona's
said something
telling
about
the
hot
name?
sauce's name is funny or is
Yeah.
it that?
Yeah, and I think this is more just like, yeah, like I think it's more confirmation that Nona just kind of understands all languages and just like is spitting back what like her actual name is versus like whatever. So like when I was reading, I was like, oh, like
a
born in
direct
the morning.
translation.
Yeah, like it's like born in the morning versus like her name is Dawn, like in English, but like or like
Ha!
like
I love that.
whatever the I don't know, pick any of our names and like the original.
I love that you
version of
brought
it.
Lives
this
by a
up
stream.
Yeah.
because I was going to ask Hannah later, but the other one is honesty. Calamity says, is his name really and truly honesty? And Nona just shrugs and says, that's the way I hear it. And then you have
Nona
this
says that's what it sounds like to
exchange
me.
where Nona says, born in the morning. And Hot
Hot
Sauce
Sauce.
says,
Do
you
you
mean
mean?
born in the morning?
She goes, yes, that's what I said.
I don't think that this is like a spoiler because this is just, it's also never made explicit.
Yeah, it's
But
just
this is
speculation.
broadly in the fandom, and what we think as well is exactly what you're saying, that she's direct translating names because she just speaks all languages. And
Yes.
sometimes she just says it back in like house or something. There are a couple of names that specifically mean born in the morning. I also, just like you, John, I thought it was dawn, but that just means, morning.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different languages that have a name for born in the morning.
What is... we're in... I don't know. Anything else from those chapters that caught your attention?
No, but I mean, we're getting more and more tidbits about like basically the end of the earth, right? But we also, one interesting thing that we got this chapter at the very
in the
end
John
when he's talking.
chapter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the John chapter where he's talking about how like no one will be alive to laugh at his jokes. It's just, this is clearly like everyone dies except for him and what we think is Electo, and they're just chilling in the post-nuclear apocalypse.
Right. So we have like a...
So a little bit of a more puzzle piece into the actual timeline, right?
Yeah, so what we've kind of learned is that, like, it seems like JG and his team have, like, some secret knowledge about the end of the earth that the rest of the public doesn't really have. And so do all these rich fucks who end up kind of piecing out. Anyway, whoever is, like, commissioning the cryo project, this seems to be a little bit confidential because he wants to tell people about this, and he has got NDAs and shit. But anyway, so there's, like, some sort of, like, confidential knowledge about the impending doom of Earth that leads to them doing this cryo project. Somehow in the midst of this, he ends up with necromancy. Then something else happens, and there's nuclear winter. And one thought I'm having is maybe the government decides they need to bomb his complex with nukes.
I mean, nuclear winter implies that they nuked like the entire Earth, right? Like I still am
nuke is all
lean-
that it takes, right? No, that's not true, right?
It takes more.
No, it
Yeah.
takes a lot of
more.
nukes.
It does. Yeah,
But
we've done this before,
like
right?
also New Zealand and Australia don't have nuclear weapons, so it implies that like
Somebody else sent them off.
yeah. Well, I'm still kind of on the theory that like the rich people get out, and the like basically exit plan is nuke the Earth so that like no one else can come after them.
Right.
Or
So
John
you
nuked
don't
the
think
Earth.
it's
I don't know.
related to this compound of perpetual bone?
No, I mean that might
It
just
seems
like
bigger-
have
it seems
accelerated the
bigger than that.
timeline or whatever. Yeah, like it just like it seems like the plan they were going to do cryo, then they realized they can't get all of humanity off, so they start investing in other technologies to get humanity as far away as possible,
To get
or
a
like
subset
out
of
past.
humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know, dude. If I'm abandoning all of humanity to a dying Earth, I mean, my exit strategy is probably like, all right, we're trying to kill as many people as possible so they can't follow us or come after us in the future, and that would also again like we're trying to fit it into the broader picture of like Augustine talking about his like pointless crusade over the last 10,000 years. Like I'm still on the like John
Well, I don't
hates all of
understand the pulling up the ladder behind you idea.
just
like,
fuck them. Why, we're going to a place with limited resources. Like
I'm
we're
sorry,
not.
I don't
we're-
have
we're-
this in my heart,
the-
and I really
the
have a hard
entirety
time
of
I was gonna say, I'm with Brooke.
generating
The
this
entirety of
idea.
capitalism
like,
is
you
pulling
fly
the ladder
away.
up behind
Like,
you.
Yeah, like I'm
with you,
a
Brooke.
little bit with John of like, this is just how capitalism works. Like you can see it. That's why things are fucked right now. Is like I've
How
got
does
mine,
their
fuck them, and I
escape-
want more.
How does leaving people back on Earth make your escape less?
Who knows? But if there's a
Sustainable.
possibility that it might, fuck them.
Well, also like I'm assuming that those people are going to be vengeful as hell. Like if you got left to abandon to like presumably die and don't die, like that's the beginning of like tons of books and stories where it's like I seek vengeance for you killing all of my family and I survived and now do you have my name is Inigo
Yeah.
Montoya. Like like there's
I wouldn't. I think you don't kill people for that reason. Anyway, okay. Yeah. God didn't know how to grow limbs back. I wrote that in my notes as well. So good job, Harrow. He's making
Yep.
perpetual bone, but doesn't know how to grow limbs back. At least at that point.
he knows how to grow his entire body back though. So
True.
Well, presumably there's a 10,000-year gap
Either
between
that-
those
Yep.
two time points.
Or it's a time shit, right? Like, we don't know that that's actually like a medical thing versus a time thing,
Interesting.
given how he turned back into mist first.
Huh.
Anyway,
Well,
Coolio. Well, I guess we'll see if any of that happens next time when John and Brooke sneak away to help us explore Nona the Ninth Chapter 16 and John 19:18.
And if you, dear listener, are, like Brooke and me, reading along for the first time, make sure you find a reading calendar on our website, frontlinefit.podbean.com, or follow us on Instagram or TikTok. And to support us, you can buy merch or join our Patreon, all of which are linked in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends and give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can. And if you didn't like it, feel free to lie now. Head off to sleep, my baby necros. Mommy and daddy have some deep spoilers to discuss.
dude, that was
Bravo.
not done in post. That was live.
Get in, losers. We're going speculating.
Act 5. More people there were dead than alive.
Warning. This portion of the podcast is 98% spoilers and like 2% snickering.
Seriously, we will spoil anything and everything in the series up through Nona the Ninth. If that's not what you want, turn back now. Hello, my dear Marie.
Hello.
The first thing I want to do is Skull Watch. Chapter 15 is a 7th house skull. And my
She's
original
dying
notes.
beautifully.
That's right. Done. Okay. My original notes are what the fuck? And then this time I was like, oh, it's obvious. She's dying beautifully. This is so funny to me because it's like, this is Nona's big secret. From the outside, it feels like Nona's big secret ought to be what she is or her powers, but that's sort of secrets she's keeping for someone else.
Mhm.
Her big secret that she's keeping from everyone is that she's dying.
And I think it's so funny to listen to be like, why would she need a clinic? Why might she need organ
Yeah.
things? And they're going to the most complicated thing. And then I was like, I just had this conversation with my dad about how people always go to the most complicated
It's whatever
explanation.
the inverse of Occam's razor is.
Exactly.
Right? The
That's
answer
actually
for why
why it
you go
came
to a
up.
medical clinic is medicine. Like,
That's actually why it came up, was because, so I stayed with my parents over at Christmas, right? And then I went to, they had their propane tank for their gas furnace got filled up. And then in the middle of the night, my dad wakes up at like 3 a.m. to like start a fire and then keep the fires going the rest of the night because it had gotten cold in the house because the furnace
Yeah.
gave out. And then when we wake up, both my mom and I were like, well, obviously the guy who came to fill up the propane tank did something. Like, that is the simplest explanation. Like, it's
yeah,
too
some valve
weird
got turned
coincidence.
off or
Yeah, like too
Yeah.
weird of a coincidence that all of a sudden the furnace would go out. And my dad's like, no, like that's blah, 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 right? And then he goes out to like the other building, like the studio, and the furnace is out there too. Okay, very obviously it's not our furnace. It's not something that happened with our furnace. It's something that happened with the gas line. And sure enough, the guy shut off the gas line. But when he came, he was like, that was all that needed to be done, was that the gas line had to be turned back on. And he was like, I didn't do that. I would never have done that. I never turn it off, like all this stuff. And I was like, there's literally nobody else to have done this.
you're the
So
only
when we
person
were
who
talking-
touched this. What a fucking
Right.
idiot. Yeah.
And then, of course, because like this was, the highlight of our week was talking about why the furnace had gone out, right? And so I had said something about like Occam's razor was, to me, Occam's razor was the guy who came to give the gas did something. And my dad basically had this thing of like, oh, well, no, like what's the opposite of Occam's razor? People will always choose the most complicated thing. So he thought it was actually maybe more complicated that
You know
like,
what?
those two things gone together.
This is why people, including myself, fucking love heist movies.
Yes.
You know, like it is almost always easier to steal things by like breaking a window and taking the thing out. But it's so much more fun when you rappel in and like disable all of the alarms and shit.
I don't know. It drives me nuts though, because I do this with my experiments all the time. I go the most fucking roundabout, outlandish, most complicated, most expensive, stupidest way about going about something. And I'll be like halfway through planning it and I'll be like, why am I not doing it the easy? Like, why did I
You're
go
like, actually, now that I
immediately
think about it,
to the most complicated solution to this? Immediately. That is where I go.
fascinating. This is really fascinating with humanity.
Is there an opposite to Occam's razor? Finding this out.
We need to create one.
Opposite of
The opposite of Occam's razor is John's delusion.
Hickham's dictum. Hickham's dictum.
Hickham's dictum? There's a real one. I love that.
Hickham's dictum is a medical principle that a patient's symptoms could be caused by several diseases. It's a counter argument to misapplying Occam's razor in the medical profession.
Okay.
A
To be
common
fair, people do
version
misapply it.
of Hickham's dictum states, a man can have as many diseases as he damn well pleases.
Oh, God, I love it. All right. That's fabulous. You have a couple notes here that I think are fabulous. And this is something I wanted to talk about as well. Seeing it, so there's this moment when Jolie, the teacher, is like worried about Nona. And Nona has this moment where she realizes that the teacher's just a baby herself.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, here's Electo slipping
Yes.
through.
100%. And it's such a nice reflection of what we've seen, what we saw really consistently in Gideon the Ninth, where like the fake Dulcinea frequently would make the mistake of calling people babies, or teacher calls people babies, because when you're 10,000 years old, you are a baby.
Yeah.
Everyone you encounter is a baby. Yeah. I thought that was
Even
great.
more so when you're 10,000 years or 4 billion years, or more importantly, 6 months.
The other thing you have here is about AIM. Is this the first time we hear her name?
Yep.
Their
I looked
name,
at,
sorry.
I Googled it. Not Googled it. I searched it in my Kindle. And it's the first instance that she's called AIM. I find it really interesting that Jolie calls her AIM.
Yeah, that like
She
clearly
doesn't
this
have
is
another
actually
name.
a name.
Yep.
It's a name you go by, but people don't know what it means. And I do think this is interesting. This was like one of the first things that Brooke wanted to talk about in the rampant speculation section, was why the angel is important. And we do find out that the angel is important because they are one half of a message. We got the AIM-MSN thing. I still think it's fascinating to know what this message is, and I am 100% convinced that it's going to be something where Tamsin is trolling us, that it's going to be a la Eminem at the end of Commander Wake's name, like that it's going to be something completely stupid and generic. It's going to be a your mom joke.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to finding out what the message is, but I'm also like, I'm so afraid.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the book.
The last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is I just think like an interesting, lovely parallelism that Tamsin puts in these two chapters, is about sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So Nona's always a little afraid of falling asleep now, she says. And I think that's largely because sleep is adjacent to death, but it also could be that sleep is a place where she's going to visit John and her past. Although I don't know how much of those dreams, in fact, we know she doesn't retain those dreams. Instead, the dreams she's retaining are of her and, well, of Harrow and Gideon in the saltwater.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's interesting. And then you have in the next section, in the John section, she isn't afraid of sleeping, but he is. He's always afraid of being unconscious, and that's all about control for him. And I think this is a really interesting discrepancy and parallelism, because I don't think Nona is afraid about being out of control. Nona likes the letting go part.
Mm-hmm. She likes it not being on her.
Yeah.
She likes
John
change.
is so fucking pathological. Yeah. About needing to have everything under control, everything like really, really rigid and safe, which it's interesting, you know, theoretically, he's this almighty power. And in practice, the reason that you get this fucking anal about needing control is all about fear, all about feeling out of control and scared about it. So I thought that was really interesting. And then there's this beautiful little insight, just a classic John moment that I thought was worth mentioning, is that Pyrrha betrays the cops for them and tells them that the SWAT team's on the way. And John says, she betrayed them for us that day. I'll always love her for that. And I feel like that's such a fucked up thing to love someone for, is like, you know, here he says she loved that job so much. I'll always love her for that. It's always transactional with him. He's such a fucking dick. And it's like the exact opposite actually of how Nona sees love, where she loves because you know, she's so happy that her friends, and she's so happy that her friends love her with no reason, that they don't need a reason to love her. They don't need it to be transactional. Nona can't give them anything, and they still want her to be part of the gang.
I think this is really interesting. And I think like I see every so often, I see like conversations about this because talking about how you and I love our deep philosophical conversations.
Yes.
One of the reasons that we've talked about loving this series is because of the way that it's a meditation on different kinds of love. And
yes.
I think it's very interesting to see like conversations happening on like social media or public platforms about types of love and what love actually is. And I remember seeing something recently saying like human relationships are always transactional. Like there's no way that you don't have like specifically like a romantic partnership. It is a transactional partnership. No matter what you think about it, you're wrong if you don't think that it's transactional. And part of me is like, well, no, there absolutely is, because you get bitterness and resentment and all these types of buildups if you are constantly giving and not getting back what you need. And so that way, humans cannot love unconditionally in that way. But additionally, like there's something really sick about insisting that is like it's kind of like a type of cynicism of, you can't think about your relationships that way, though, because it poisons the well.
Yeah. I wonder if I think there's layers to love. I think there's different components of it. I think there is a space for just unconditional warmth towards a person that has nothing to do with anything explicit or anything that they're doing or you're doing. Mm-hmm. And on top of that are layers of love and like and that have some pieces where you're grateful for what the other person does for you. But I also don't think being thankful for what someone gives to you is the same thing necessarily as like, I don't know. It's all more complicated than this weirdly. So this takes me, I really hate Kant. I think I've told you this before, but if I could go back in time and murder one person, it would be Immanuel Kant.
See, and I refuse the world would to be a better place. Anything to do. I refuse to take philosophy in college. I've never read anything philosophical other than Ayn Rand at a vulnerable time in my psyche. And then later on, I was like, oh, that's fucked.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah,
I didn't realize it was philosophy. I thought it was a book.
I feel like one of the things that Kant has is this idea of this moral imperative that has to be pure. That if you're getting anything out of something, then it isn't actually like
then it's no longer
fundamentally
pure.
Moral. Yeah. And I think that's really fucked up, man. Like if you go and buy a ton of winter gloves and donate them to a homeless shelter, that is an act of true goodness. And if you also at the same time feel warm and happy that you got to be part of it, I don't think that takes away from what you did, you know?
I think also you and I are very much biologists in this way of being like altruism, like is like there's a reason why, or I don't know, like I find it really interesting. Like this is like a whole realm of evolutionary biology, right? Is like how altruism is necessary in a species survival. And so there actually are some evolutionary mechanisms that we can see, like giving things to other people or seeing other people happy often
gives
if
you a
have
dopamine
been socialized correctly, gives you dopamine that makes you more likely to be social and altruistic.
And do
so
it
like
again.
From a biology
exactly
perspective,
right.
It's like, okay, you can't possibly do something nice for somebody else without it being a tiny bit selfish, even if the tiny bit selfish is that it makes you feel good.
Feel good. Yes. And the only way you could not feel good is literally basically being a psychopath. Or, you know, also to be fair, having some sort of dissociative episode, deep depression, fine. But my point is that, and I'm not trying to at any of our listeners here. I think you're totally right that there is a biofeedback of this. There's the human mind and spirituality, but also at some point it's all encased in a body, right? And that body is going to run the neural networks that it does every time, you know, you get a little hit of dopamine when you give a hug, because it's good. Hugs are good.
I love hugs.
Act 6. See you next time, my little nunlets. Oh, you know what? We can't end there, because I have to say this. I am so excited for next week. Next week is the broadcast. And next week, I feel like is when shit hits the fan. This is every single book. It's this slow build, lots of little secrets, really fun for us to talk about, not necessarily fun for them to talk about. And then you hit some pivot point where things go to shit. And that is the broadcast. That is next week. I could not be more excited. I am looking forward so much to every part of this. And one of the things I'm actually looking forward to is when we're done with this book, because you know that John in particular, but both of them are going to go back and binge all of our seasons to hear all. Yeah. And I think their brains are going to explode. Like, I think it's going to be a terrible experience for them. I really am excited.
Anyway.
Act 6. See you next time, my little nunlets. Well, it looks like we've got a broadcast to sneak off to, so we'll be back next week to run through Nona the Ninth Chapter 16 and John 19:18. If you want to follow along with us, our reading calendar is available on our website at frontlinefifth.podbean.com, and you can follow us on Instagram or TikTok, which are linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends and give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can. And of course, if you did not enjoy the podcast, feel free to lie. We have a Patreon, which you can join for access to bonus content every month. You can become a patron, and boy, do they all look good when they swing a sword, at patreon.com/frontlinefifth. And you can check out our merch at our Redbubble store linked in the show notes. Finally, if you have any fun theories you'd like to share with us, feel free to email us at frontlinefifth@gmail.com. And with that, I'll just remind you not to unlock any tombs or enter any doors without permission because, you know, ghosts. Bye!
Frontline Fifth is a Locked Tomb podcast conceived by Maria Adamako and starring Maria Adamako, Hannah Grunwald, Brooke Anderson, and John Ryan. Our cover art was designed and created by Maria Adamako, who also edited this episode. Our fabulous music was composed and recorded by Blake Anderson. Sonia Grunwald designs our killer merch. Hot! Gorgeous! The Locked Tomb series is a completely dope-ass book series by Tamsin Muir, who does not know we exist and is in no way affiliated with this podcast.